Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka the guy who's back in black, Mirror, and this video I'm breaking down the final two episodes of Season 6. Due to time constraints, I've had to combine these into one big breakdown, but we've still got lots to talk about in terms of what happens in them. The first of these is Mazey Day, which centers around a member of the paparazzi named Bo, played by Zazie Beetz. Set in 2006, the story follows her as she tries to take the first photo of elusive star Mazey Day, who hasn't been seen for 2 weeks. Now on the other side of this, we have Mazey herself, who's potentially in a lot of trouble. One night she kills someone in a hit and run, and then from here has a complete breakdown and refuses to go out in public. Now Bo doesn't really want to be involved in the life of being a pap anymore, but she gets lured back in with the idea that the photo can be a golden ticket. She's got money problems like everyone else, a bloody vicious monster of a roommate, you bloody monster, and all in all this is basically her way to a slightly better life. Now what this episode is of course going to be remembered for is that when Bo tracks down Mazey, she turns into a werewolf. Comes completely out of nowhere, but on a second watch they do little hints towards this reveal if you're paying very close attention. Now the description for this episode on Netflix actually has the first of these clues in it. The streaming service put out 2 for the entry, and they've gone back and forth with these depending on when you load them. They say, a troubled Hollywood starlet goes to great lengths to escape a pack of invasive paparazzi as she deals with the aftermath of a hit and run. The second says, a troubled starlet is dogged by invasive paparazzi while dealing with the consequences of a hit and run incident. Now the keywords here are that the wolves hunt in packs just like the paparazzi, and her being dogged is reversed when she turns into a dog and goes after them. Now, I genuinely think that this was all done on purpose, it's just not very good. Now, other hints and allusions include when actor Justin Camley calls Bo a fucking animal as she drives away. I think this episode is basically meant to ask us who the monsters are by presenting us with a literal one that doesn't seem as bad as the people we follow in the end. Bo ends up initially wanting to help Mazey when they find her, however, in the end she resorts to just wanting to take a photo of her in what's a moment that will no doubt make her extremely wealthy. Now, Justin Camley's appearance also ties this episode into other entries, most notably the Sea of Tranquility. This is an in-universe show in which Camley starred in, and it showed up during Nosedive and also on Streamberry and Jonah's Awful. On top of this, the club in which Bo and co harass the actress outside of is called Quagmire. This is a reference to the club of the same name that appeared in San Junipero, with that potentially being a recreation of this Californian outlet. Now, the character Sydney Alberti gets harassed and shouted at in the street due to her sex tape being leaked, which has now made the paps think that anything's fair game. She's of course based off Paris Hilton, with Sydney being changed to Paris to play off the back of her name. Now, other tenuous clues foreshadowing the werewolf come at the club when we can catch dog paw prints on the side. Maisie also listens to the song Supermassive Black Hole when she's driving, and this tune appears throughout the episode. This song featured heavily in the Twilight Saga movies, which themselves also featured werewolves. When Mazey hits the man, she initially thinks it's an animal, and then turns around to see that it's actually a human. Stuff like this has been done in a lot of werewolf media, most notably American Werewolf in London, which this episode riffs on when we get that twist towards the end. When Bo pulls up to the producer's house, we can also see the moons clearly shot in frame so that it stands out. Later on, Dr. Babbage also tells Mazey it's about getting through tonight and the nights after, rather than getting through the day today. Honestly, these are very tenuous, like I said, and I thought that the twist was shocking on the first watch, but it kind of came out of nowhere, and in the end I thought this episode was one of the weaker ones of Season 6. Possibly the worst out of them, and unfortunately I doubt that it's one that I'm gonna go revisit. I get thematically that it's trying to show how monstrous and unfeeling the paparazzi are, but I think it should have probably just stayed and focused on that. I watched a review of the episode by our mates over at Unleash the Ghouls, and Connor summed it up by saying that it should be remembered as the one that tears down the paps, but instead it's just going to be remembered as the one about being about the werewolf, which is a shame, as there are some good things that happen here thematically. Maisie ends up turning her back on it, but at the end she's drawn back in because the money outweighs the morals that she feels she has towards it. The paps also hunt and go after their prey with complete disregard to how they feel about it, and they're much like the wolf in that they're these merciless monsters. At the end, Bo just stands there and takes photos of Mazey, and I thought this was clearly commenting on the death of Princess Diana and what happened with the paparazzi in the Parisian tunnel. Rather than helping her, they just stood around taking photographs, and she died with camera flashes going off in her face. Why I think the link's there is because Diana was mentioned earlier in the season, and she took away the press and publicity from me in a dare. Now, I think that the episode's at its strongest when it's doing things like that, and Brooker has actually come out over the weekend and talked about a common misinterpretation that people have of the show. He said that while a lot of people think that the show is about how technology is bad, it's actually about how people are bad and that they'll use technology in evil ways. Here, the technology is the camera, with Bo retreating behind it in the end and using it to take photos of Mazey when really she should be helping. This is a shield which covers her face now so we can't see who she is, and the camera lens is what she has become. Several tribes used to refuse to have their photos taken because they believe the camera stole the soul, but you have to wonder here whether this is in regards to Mazey or it's in fact in regards to Bo. She had a way out, but has resorted back to be this soulless thing that now only cares about taking the photo. It's a great way to close things out, no matter what I thought of the episode, and that also takes us into Demon 79. Now, if you're enjoying the video so far, we'd massively appreciate the thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe for breakdowns like this every day. Now, Demon 79 was originally supposed to be released on a sister series called Red Mirror, which would deal with more supernatural things rather than having it technology based. According to Brooker, they might end up doing more Red Mirror episodes later on, depending on the success of this, and let me know below what you thought on the episode. Now, there's several nods to horror classics in this entry, with the score of The Shining being used as the title comes up. We also have the poster for the entry itself, which looks like it's playing on the one from that film, alongside its latter sequel titled Dr. Sleep. Made to evoke 70s horror, this entry also tackles themes like race, politics, and the incoming apocalypse at the hands of nuclear war. Centered around a woman named Nita Hook, I couldn't help but think this might be a reference to Brooker's real-life wife Connie Hook, who has co-wrote several of the episodes of the show in the past. Nita Hook could also be because she needs a hug, but might be a reach. Now, in the episode, she unwittingly summons a demon named Gap, who tells her that she has to get 3 subscribers before May Day, otherwise the world will end. Originally conceived to be a punk figure, Brooker said that he was making a playlist of 70s songs and realized that the male singer of Boney M would be much more striking. You could say she needs a Boney M from Daddy Cool. Now, after the title reveal, we come across Nita and can hear Bright Eyes in the background by Art Garfunkel. This was written for the 1978 movie Watership Down, and the song itself's about a dreamlike state where someone goes on a journey. This is similar to Nita in the entry, and they give a lot of focus to her eyes being wide open at several points. This happens when she sees the visions, and they show her the apocalypse and also the darkest parts of the people that she's going after. In the animated movie, the rabbits have their eyes open to how horrific the world is, and this is also something that Nita experiences too. Now, the episode is packed with a number of different Easter eggs and ties back to other Black Mirror episodes from the off and throughout. There's a shoe brand called Wolfie's Footwear, which might be building off the back of Mazey Day. We also see a newspaper clipping, and this talks about how a Tipley publican named Robert Daly has died. Robert Daly is a name that's appeared in the series before, and this was the character that Jesse Plemons played in the USS Callister. This is probably director Toby Haynes giving himself a bit of a shout out, as he directed not only this, but also that episode as well. The talisman used to summon the demon also seems like a thinner version of the white bear symbol, which actually appears later on in the flashes of Michael Smart's future. Tipley has been mentioned in the season already, and during Loch Henry we learned that there was a BAFTA-nominated documentary centered around the town. Michael Smart's name also appeared in a newspaper clipping during that, and the scene we get later on shows several of the things from the series revolving around him. The fictional UKM broadcaster from the universe announces his Britannia party, and we learn that Smart actually took power from Michael Callow. However, the flash here shows that he was kicked out for his racist remarks, and a clipping in Loch Henry show that he'd rebuked this. It then announced that he started a new party, which leads into the Britannia one, who has a Union Jack in the white bear symbol. There's also a shot of facial recognition, and this could indicate that the ADIs from Hated in the Nation came from Smart. We also see one of the dogs from Metalhead, and a news ticker in Loch Henry confirmed that they were introduced by Smart. The episode features him being part of the Tory party and also the National Front, who came to prominence during that decade. NF is spray painted on Nita's door at one point, and her racist co-workers represent how the ideals have seeped into the population. Unemployment and inflation are at an all-time high, and people are now looking for someone they can blame. Smart somewhat weaponizes the hatred that they use to push their agendas, as he says he'll never get in power, so people should just vote for him instead. Though Gap is thought to be the titular demon of the episode, I definitely see it as Smart, and hell doesn't even want him dead because of all the evil he can do. Smart represents the control of the weak-minded people who are easily swayed by politicians, and he somewhat hypnotizes Nita's co-worker into voting for him eventually. Gap is also a real-life demon from the Infernal Dictionary that has shape-shifting abilities and can show people the past. Well, I say real life, depends on what you believe, but he states that he's a misophabe, which is a lower-class demon. There's also the fears of nuclear war, which were prominent at the time, and this is the form that the apocalypse takes this time around. Anita wrestles back and forth with whether this is actually real or if she's going crazy. No one other than her can see the demon, and they also give lip service to her mother being thought of being crazy too. Potentially, Nita's experiencing the same thing, and we know that she has hallucinations of attacking her co-workers and customers, which don't turn out to be real. At one point, Nita reads the book Creative Visualizations, which is about using the power of imagination to create what you want in life. Nita is clearly attracted to the singer of Boney M, and this is why Gap takes on his form. Come the end of the entry, the pair go off together to spend eternity in oblivion, which she earlier describes as sounding like how her life is now. So if you take this as all being in her mind, then you could see this as her imagining the life she wants to have with the man she loves. Now her murder spree is somewhat foreshadowed by the newspaper articles that she finds in the basement. There's a clipping about Jeffrey Posset, and then she comes across others recounting 3 deaths in the area. The final clipping shows that the May Day celebrations have been a grand success, showing that Posset likely went through a similar thing to what Nita did too. The third article about the woman's disappearance also talks about Callow stepping down from his seat, which could be a nod to Michael Callow vacating his position. The timelines are off, but I think there are connections there if you want to see them. Now later on we meet Detective Fisher and can catch him reading the book Smiley's People. Dropping in 1979, this book featured characters that were later brought across into the movie Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. The cover also has dominoes on it, which is the form that the talisman takes later on when Nita is taken by the police. Nita ends up killing people who are seen as being some of the worst in society, with her taking down a father that abuses his daughter and a man that got away with murder. However, she is spotted by the latter's flatmate / brother, and she kills him in what's one of the most awkward hammer or knife fights that I've ever seen. This should be the 3 murders done, but the talisman demands more blood, and this Gap rings 666 in order to speak to his bosses. Turns out that murderers can't count as people who are killed due to them already being damned, and thus she then has to go after Smart. In the end though, she's caught before this can happen, and seemingly escapes the apocalypse to spend eternity with Gap. Now, the more I've thought about it, the more I think this didn't really happen the way Nita thinks it did. The book is a major clue, and we have the history with her mother adding to it as well. We know from the other entries that Michael Smart survived, and he might have even weaponized this attack to push his name out to the forefront. Though the connections, they can often be tenuous in the show, I think the timeline messes up if you count this as canon, so I just think it's in her head. Now, I have seen that this is actually an in-universe movie, but either way, to me it's all made up. Now you also have the similarities to the Son of Sam killings, which too took place in the 70s. David Berkowitz said that a demon in the form of a dog told him to do it, and though he's admitted this was a hoax, it could be the basis for this episode. That's what I kind of took from it anyway, and hopefully you've enjoyed us going through these episodes on the series. I think the first 2 were great, but unfortunately it kind of fell off around there, and though I enjoyed 3, I think the season got worse the longer it went on. It was still better than season 5 to be fair, and I thought this episode was better than Mazey Day, but this season definitely had its highs and also its lows. I've still enjoyed going through it though, and I did want to do this as 2 separate videos initially, but like I said, time got the better of me. Now we have a pretty packed week, and I will be back with a breakdown on Secret Invasion come Thursday, and then one on From Season 2, which will be dropping next week. I was lucky enough to see the finale of that, and we have a lot to talk about with it, so make sure you stick around. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you want to support the channel for as little as 99 cents a month, then please click the join button and you'll get access to early videos. We also have our merch store over at shopzeroedition.com, which sells lots of nerdy inspired t-shirts, hats and more. If you want something else to watch, we've got a Black Mirror video on screen right now, and hopefully I'll see you over there right after this. By the way, huge thank you for sitting through the video. I've been Paul, and I'll see you next time. You take care. Peace.